The Godfather.
This that. This that. This that jumpin', yeah. This that jumpin', start like 23. This that jumpin', 2-4 like Kobe. This that jumpin', shoot my shot, then beat. This that jumpin', ride around smoking my trees. This that jumpin', start like 23. This that jumpin', 2-4 like Kobe. This that jumpin', shoot my shot, then beat. This that jumpin', ride around smoking my trees. I be ballin' in music like Kobe. I'm the greatest to ever do it, they don't know it. Straight from the streets where the shots came blowin'. I came from the bottom where they hate to see you blow. Mama always told me I'm a shine, so I glow. I came from the block where I stood 10 toes. Came a long way, now I'm on the top floor.
What's up, everybody, and welcome back to another Turtles Take here on 1252 Sports Chicago. Man, we got a lot of stuff going on here with the Bulls. We got a lot of things to talk about here tonight. We got our boy Salim Suterwalla from the Bulls Gold podcast jumping on here with us at 7:30. Give his opinion on where these Bulls are headed and what we're going to be doing here in the future and much more. We're going to be talking the play-in tournament. We're going to be talking everything the Bulls should do in the offseason and much more. So thank you guys for joining us. Vince, how we doing tonight?
Man, I'm good. You know, we got a whole Bulls show planned here tonight. And I know it's because it's Bulls talk tonight, but that song Jumpman, man, it always starts that Friday show off just right. You know, it really sets the tone. So a big shout out to Rico Santana 400 for setting that song up for us. We really appreciate it. You know, how you doing, Andrew?
Doing well, man. It's been a long week. The Bulls have been playing well for the most part. I'm excited to see what the future has to hold here. Just we don't have to wait too long to see if they make that play in or not. But
just 2 games. 2 games, we'll know it all. Well, really 1 game because if they don't make up a game off that first game, it's over.
Yeah, if they lose, they're out. So it'll be interesting to see, what Coach Donovan has lined up here, as well as what the team does to make that final push. I saw a lot of people 1, 2, and even as far as 3 weeks back were saying, oh, man, just keep Zach on the bench, keep Vooch on the bench, lose out, secure that lottery pick. I got to start with that, Vince. How do you feel about that mentality of, if we lose out, we can secure that lottery pick rather than obviously if they make the play-in, there's a chance that, more than likely that pick will go to Orlando then.
Yeah, I mean, I think everybody forgot that pick that goes to Orlando this year is only a top 3 protected pick. So if we're not in the top 3, or it might be top 4, actually. It's either top 3 or top 4, but either way. But so, if we're not in the top 4, that pick goes to them anyways. So even if we get the 5th pick, it goes to Orlando. So, I mean, we got lucky the year Derrick Rose was in the draft. I don't think we'll get that lucky again, man. We're going to move all the way up to, the top 4 when we should be, at the back end. So, they made this trade. We all thought 4th seed, 5th seed. We definitely didn't see not making the playoffs. So, but there's been a lot of ups and downs. Zach had COVID or whatever he was in the protocol for. I'm assuming it was COVID.
Right.
He was out for a while. They struggled without him. He's a lot of their offense, a lot of their scoring, but it was cool to see when he came back, him and Vooch picked right back up. So, that duo seems to be right what exactly they thought it was. So now they got room to make up. It's a long shot for sure, but it's not out of the question. Washington could easily stumble against these last 2 teams, and the Bulls pick up 2 wins, and there you have it. They're in.
Yeah, hopefully so. I think one thing for me with any young team, playoff experience is something that can only really be attributed to that. It's something that is unlike the rest of the season. I mean, your guys are under the biggest, brightest lights, so to speak. They're on that biggest stage. And I think it would be important developmentally for this team to get into that play-in game.
Well, and Zach's never been in the playoffs, right?
Exactly. I mean, and obviously, with with as great as Zach has played this season, obviously he's had his health struggles here the last couple months with the COVID protocol and everything like that. But I mean, just the season the guy's had, the numbers he's put up, the adversity that he's faced, I think it'd be a good thing for him to get a playoff game, even if it is just in that play-in tournament. And, win or lose, it's still the experience of being there, right? It's the experience of being on the biggest stage. And I think mentally that's huge for a player, especially, you look at Zach and where he's at in his developmental arc. He's only going to get better over the next 2 to 3 seasons, I would surely think. Get him that experience now. I mean, I don't understand the mentality of, oh, let's lose out and try to secure a lottery pick, and you see teams do it every year in all sports, even looking at the NFL, you see teams that are 0-12, and then they're just going, oh, we got to lose out so we can get the number one draft
pick. Last year, towards the end of the year, they made sure they weren't playing all their guys. So, it's even easier in basketball, man, because you got such a short roster. You're like, oh, well, these two guys are out. Well, there's no way you're winning. So, we'll see. It'll be interesting. If nothing else, I hope that they can win the next 2 games, even if they don't get in. At least if they can finish on, that little bit of a winning streak, at least maybe that'll carry over into the offseason and hopefully into next year.
Well, yeah, that's the thing with this team. I mean, obviously, you've got a lot of young pieces. You've got, I believe, the youngest NBA player on your roster in Patrick.
Yeah.
And, Zach's still relatively young. Vooch is right there at the turn, so to speak. He's got, probably 3 really productive peak years left in him.
Yeah.
Before we more than likely start to see a little bit of a decline, but there's not really anyone on this team that jumps out at you that they're going to be on the immediate decline. So,
no.
From a positive standpoint, we are only going to get better. And as this team develops, as this team meshes together more and, really gets that chemistry, I don't care what you say. I mean, you play 20 games with a guy, that chemistry is still probably not all the way there. I think we'll really start to see this team take leaps and bounds early next season when they're 30, 40 games connected to each other. And that's,
especially if you have an off season to go through the off season together, to work out away from the team, to work out together during the off season, to, bond as teammates and get that, cohesiveness going, where not just on the floor, but in general off the floor too, especially with Zach getting COVID, obviously he couldn't be around the team. So that really derailed the whole gelling that everybody expected to happen. So, hopefully they can get that done in the offseason. It doesn't take too far into next year for us to see that.
Oh, for sure. And don't get me wrong, I've loved what we've seen out of Vooch so far.
Yeah.
Obvious dominant impact immediately as soon as he hit the floor. I mean, out of his first 3 or 4 games, there were some rough spots, some just chemistry and gelling that had to get worked out, which was expected. But aside from that, I've been really happy with his performance so far. And I think the Bulls made the right move there. I think obviously we're still kind of one piece away, as most would say. We still have to get that true elite point guard, which hopefully we'll be able to get here in the off season. Fingers crossed. We definitely got to ask our boy Salim about that, because I'm sure he's got a lot of opinions. Maybe he wants to take Brad Beal. I know you love him, Vince.
I mean, don't get me wrong. I love Brad Beal. I have Brad Beal on my fantasy team. Brad Beal goes off. Brad Beal is a walking bucket. Brad Beal does not play defense.
No.
And Brad Beal does not handle the ball like a point guard. Nor does Zach LaVine.
Well, I don't want to get this negative too early into the show, but I would argue that the NBA as a whole doesn't play defense anymore. I mean,
that you're very much accurate on. There's definitely, as a whole, the defense is lacking. It's secondary to scoring and everything else, and 3-point shooting. But there are some guys that play good defense. You got a few wing players that really can play good perimeter defense and make it harder on shooters, but they're few and far between.
Yeah, and I mean, that's how this league has evolved, right? It's turned into a scoring game. Obviously, the three-point shot has taken more precedence now than it ever has in the game of basketball.
Right. Well, yeah, I
I
mean, look at
mean,
what Steph Curry's doing. I mean, he's putting up 40 points a game, 45 points a game, 11 threes, 12 threes. I mean, just setting record after record after record. Russell Westbrook with his triple-double record. You know, I'm not a big Russell Westbrook guy.
no,
But
neither am I.
but I can respect what he's accomplished. You know, that being said, I'm glad he's not on my team.
Yeah, I would agree. I think when it comes down to a guy like Russell Westbrook, yes, he's a great individual player. I don't necessarily like him on the Bulls. I don't think
Right.
I don't think as a team player he would fit our scheme, what we're trying to do.
No, I don't.
You know,
I don't think so either. And you saw what he did with James Harden, and you see what he's done with other guys. And I know everybody always gets on me because I say he's not a team guy. And they're like, well, how if he averages double-digit assists? How is he not a team guy? It's like, yeah, but there's difference in triple doubles. There's triple doubles where you're going out and you're slaying the other team and you're passing out of double teams to find wide open shots. And there's triple double where guys are letting you grab the rebound in front of them so that you can get your rebounds.
yeah, exactly. I would agree with that. And don't get me wrong, I don't take anything away from Russell
No,
Westbrook
not at
as
all.
an athlete. I mean, an amazing athlete. Don't get me wrong, but
And taking nothing away from what he's accomplished.
no, absolutely not. I just schematically, I don't think obviously Billy Donovan has preached, a pass first type of mentality to some degree. He's wanted to get open shooters good looks, which is what you need to do to be efficient in the game of basketball, especially in 2021. And I get it. Yeah, Westbrook has the numbers, but I feel like he wants the spotlight to shine on him just as bright. And he's not a team first guy from that perspective, in my opinion.
Well, yeah, and like they say, don't mistake effort for results. He gets the triple double, but when you're still one of the worst teams in the league, I mean, when you're possibly not going to make the playoffs in the East, your team's not very good.
Oh,
And you have yourself and Bradley Beal on the team.
exactly. That's my thing. It's all about effort at the end of the day, and you've got to play 120% to the whistle. One thing that bothers me so much with basketball today is the fact that we have guys that, how do I phrase this? We have guys that intentionally sit out and rest more than what is necessary. So you look at a team like the Brooklyn Nets. They have, I think James Harden has played less games with
He just came back yesterday.
Yes, he just came back, but he's played less games with the Nets than he has with the Rockets this season.
But he's played better in those less games with the Nets than he has the Rockets.
Yeah, you could argue that. And obviously the Nets are going to be in the playoffs. They're probably going to be the one that wins it all.
Whoa.
That's just my opinion.
Easy boy.
That's just my opinion. But, you look at a team like Brooklyn and we've got all of these guys who are great athletes. Obviously, you've just got superior talent on that team all the way around. But
it helps when you don't have to be the primary ball handler. He is, but he doesn't have to be, because if he needs a couple possessions off, Kyrie Irving can handle the ball up the floor so he could just go find his jump shot.
Right. Well, and that's the thing is I don't like the let's rest, let's be on the bench mentality. I get it. You need to make sure you're healthy. That's not what I'm saying. What I am saying is if I'm a fan and I go out to even a Bulls game and Zach LaVine's sitting on the bench because he's having a rest day, I'm still paying my 80 to 100 whatever dollars I'm paying for my ticket. I'm still paying that same amount of money whether Zach's on the floor or not. I, as a fan, want to see him on the floor.
So as you bring that up, so it was announced that Kawhi Leonard was probably going to sit tonight for rest. Can you imagine if, as they've allowed more and more fans to each game, let's just say it was here in Chicago where they're just now starting to open up a little more, you find the first game you get to go to of the year, you're like, oh, damn, Bulls are playing the Clippers, I can see Kawhi and Paul George and Rondo and all these guys, and you pay that $150 for a ticket, $120 for a ticket to get a good seat. You get there, you're all excited, and they announce starting for the Clippers, and it's 5 dudes you never heard of, and you're like, wait, where's Kawhi Leonard? Where's Paul George?
Right.
Oh, they're resting tonight because it's on a back-to-back. And you're
Well, and
like, wait, it's COVID. I finally get to go to a game, and I spend all the money to get a ticket, and I don't even get to see the guys I wanted to see.
Well, yeah, and it's not even COVID related. I understand and respect your point there, especially with the United Center just opening back up, right at the tail end of both the Hawks and Bulls seasons. But it's one of those things that any game, I mean, if, don't get me wrong, if you go to a preseason game in football or you go to a G League game in the NBA,
Right.
obviously you're not going to see the top tier talent. But if
However, I did go to a Windy City Bulls game, and I got to see Bull play, and damn, I forgot who it was from the Bulls, but one of their main guys, he was rehabbing with the Windy City Bulls. I was like, man, this is the best Windy City Bulls game ever.
Yeah, no, and I can respect that. Don't get me wrong. I love going to Rockford Ice Hogs games out here when it comes to hockey and things like that.
Yeah.
I'm not against, minor developmental leagues, but if I'm going to the big show, so to speak, I'm paying for the big show. I want the full experience. I don't want to see Kawhi Leonard sitting on the bench if the Bulls were happening to play the Clippers, or
for sure.
Even on our team, I don't want to see Vooch and Zach sitting on the bench because we decided we're going to try to lose out to keep that lottery pick. Get that shit out of here. I got no room for that.
So we're about 10 minutes away from Salim joining us. We had our guy Alan here from 1252. He had 2 really, really, really good comments here for the chat. First off, maybe the best comment I've ever seen come through this chat. Right here, let me display it for all of you. For those of you listening on Spotify, Alan said, "No more Bama shirts." Thank the Lord Jesus that you're not wearing a Bama shirt, because I have
just
had enough
for tonight.
I have had enough of you wearing Bama shirts. I will buy you a Notre Dame shirt, and I will buy you a Texas shirt, and I will buy you a Cubs shirt, and all this stuff for you to wear other than that ugly ass Bama shirt you wear.
Well, I will tell you this. I did order 2 new Bama polos specifically for being on air because the weather's getting a little warmer.
But are they even going to play next year? Who do they have left? Everybody left their team.
Hey, when you have arguably one of the greatest college coaches of all time, we will find a way to make it happen. But no, that being said,
hold on. We can't get too far away. Alan had another great comment. I said 2 comments. Tarble, don't get carried away. Alan, for those on Spotify, also asked or said, "Look at that jersey." So, Tarble, I ask you, what jersey are you wearing?
I am wearing a Rose jersey, but it's probably not the Rose you think.
Hold on. Don't say nothing. Just stand up and let me see what jersey you're wearing.
Got on the Bulls number 5.
Number 5. Oh, Jalen Rose.
Jalen Rose.
Okay, I can get down with Jalen. Wait a second. Mr. Bama is wearing a Michigan player?
Hey, we're talking about 2 different sports, my boy.
How? They're colleges.
For college basketball, I'm not an Alabama fan.
How? Wait, so you're just an Alabama football fan? That makes no sense.
Yeah, that makes perfect sense. Since I was 3 years old, I've been an Alabama football fan, and since I was probably 4 to 5 years old, I've followed Syracuse and Michigan for basketball.
Ew. What horrible teams to follow. Our guy Angelo at Sport Court said Boozer's the real number 5. And you know what? I have to agree with him, because you know what? I miss hearing Boozer yell, "Get back, Joe! Get that, Joe!"
No, I would
remember his spray paint that he had for his hair.
Oh yeah, crazy.
They should bring Carlos Boozer back as like a assistant coach or something, and just the last 2 minutes they should have him come in and he just clap his hands and yell, "Get that, Joe!"
I would be all for it, man. I love the energy that he brought to the court.
Hell yeah.
But no, All I do have to say is if you were to buy me a Notre Dame shirt, I would burn it live on the air on this show. So as much as I would appreciate the gift, save your money because you're going to be a little pissed off you see me lighting it on fire on 1252.
That was harsh.
I hate Notre Dame football. I am not a fan.
So I'll buy you a Notre Dame basketball jersey.
No, let's just move on from this whole Tar Bill shirts conversation.
I suppose.
I'll wear what I wear. I'll buy you a shirt that's crimson in color with a big old A on it and send it your way. How about that?
No, because I'm rocking my Nick and Ivy shirt. So
That's
I don't have room for that crap Bama stupid shirt.
You just hate them because they're the best, but that's
they're
moving
not the best
on.
at basketball.
No, they're the best at football.
Did they win the last championship?
Yes.
Oh, well, shit. What about the one before that?
No, they lost to Clemson the year before that.
So they're not the best every year.
Not every year, but moving on.
Over it.
Moving on, going back to the Chicago Bulls. If you had to pick one player that you like on this team right now, the best, obviously, I mean, that has the best upside, the best developmental upside, who is that player to you?
I think it's easy. I think it's Patrick Williams. The kid's 19 years old. He's already been regarded as one of the best defenders in the league. He's long. He's aggressive. He gets in guys' face. He's not afraid to lock up anybody. You know, when you got a guy that could guard 1 through 5, you know, I don't want to compare him to him yet because it's a big step to take, but it reminds me of Scottie Pippen, how he went and he was taking the best scorer on the team every night. The difference, Scottie was also putting 25 points a game in on the offensive side. And I'd like to see him get a little more aggressive with that mid-range shot, because I think he does have a great shot that he could be a weapon with. And, you know, maybe he could work on stretching that out to a 3-point shot. You know, we don't see him take a lot of 3-pointers, but he makes them. No. So he's not Ben Simmons where he can't make them, you know. So I do feel like that could become part of his game. You know, we've seen plenty of basketball players in the NBA who weren't really 3-point shooters that, you know, 2-3 years in, all of a sudden they've got a consistent 3-point jump shot. So I think he would have to be my biggest upside guy if I had to pick out anybody. I don't know. Where would you go with that?
I would also have to go with him. That's the obvious choice, right? Obviously, the Bulls have some depth, and we do have some upside on this team for the first time in a long time. I like Daniel Tice. I mean, he's not on the young side, but he's a bulldog, man. He fights for sure. You know, with that being said, you touched on, you know, players developing a 3-point shot years into the league and things like that. One thing that has stuck out to me is in recent years is the lack of the mid-range game. It's almost like you get disrespected if you have a good mid-range game in today's NBA. And that to me just seems crazy, because I remember, you know, as a kid growing up watching Bulls games and just watching the NBA in general, you'd see some players with some nasty mid-range jumpers that it would just excite you. It would be like, okay, this guy's going to tear you up, cross you over, and then pop back and hit a nice mid-range jumper like it's nothing.
I feel like you're onto something here. You know, the Michael Jordans, the Kobes, the Tracy McGrady's, the Carmelo Anthony's, those killer mid-range. Even Kawhi's got a great mid-range game. Oh my God, I can't believe I'm about to say this. Allen's gonna go nuts. But you know, I have to go with a guy like Bradley Beal. Allen's guy, Bradley Beal.
Absolutely Allen's guy.
He you know, I see a lot of times he'll have 50 points and 2 3-pointers, 30 points and 1 3-pointer. I think the other night he had 46 points and 0 3-pointers. My fantasy team didn't appreciate the 0 3-pointers, but I digress.
I like it. I mean,
he's a guy who has that killer mid-range where he looks to ISO and hit that mid-range.
Right. And I like it. That's the style of basketball, I guess, that I grew up with. Obviously, back in the day, there weren't too many guys hitting deep, you know, as we say now, circus threes. You know, these guys like Dame Lillard can step just over the half-court line and lay it down.
Yeah, they walk across half court already ready to shoot.
Yeah, and there's nothing wrong with it. That's the evolution of the game, but it's just not what I'm traditionally used to. I enjoy a guy that can go up and put up 30 points in all of its mid-range or, you know, only 1 or 2 threes. I like it. So why not bring that back into the game? And don't hate on a guy because he doesn't have the ability to shoot the three-point ball, I guess is what I'm trying to say.
So I think at this point it's a good time to take a break here and grab a word from our sponsor. We can come back with a great friend of our show, Salim, and get some real insight about the Bulls instead of us two idiots up here kind of just guessing at shit.
Oh, for sure. Real quick, guys, here's a quick word from our sponsor, Nick and Ivy Brewing out in beautiful downtown Lockport, Illinois.
Hello, this is Paul from Nick and Ivy Brewing Company. We are located at 1026 South State Street in historic downtown Lockport, Illinois. We are very excited to be partnering up with the Fat Mike Chicago Sports Show as well as the 1252 brand because we are one of the few Chicagoland breweries that embrace sports and sports culture. Come in for a fresh brewed beer made right here in Lockport while catching the game of your favorite team. Stay for the live music that we have booked every weekend. Or just come for a cozy atmosphere to enjoy a good conversation with a friend, loved one, or complete stranger. Nick and Ivy makes you feel right at home no matter what the occasion is. Follow us on Instagram and Facebook by searching for Nick and Ivy Brewing Company. Visit our website for our up-to-date tap list or to go shopping on our online store at nickivybrewing.com. That's Nikivy brewing.com. Come in today for fresh brewed beer born and raised in Lockport, Illinois.
And we're back, guys. Again, that was a word from our sponsor, Nick and Ivy Brewing, out in beautiful downtown Lockport, Illinois. Best beers around, man. I love making it out there. Great atmosphere. If you're in the area, be sure to stop and give our guy Paul a look and try some of the beers and check out the gear they have there. Live music going on all the time. Great atmosphere. Without further ado, I think we got to bring on our guest. We got our guy, Salim, from the Bulls Gold podcast joining us right now. Salim, how we doing tonight, man?
I'm good, gentlemen. How are you guys?
We're good,
Doing
man.
well.
Appreciate you
Nice.
hopping on with us.
No, for sure. I appreciate the kind words. I don't know how much more of an expert I am than you guys, but I'll try my best as I always do.
Yeah,
For
you
sure.
never fail. You always got the good insights and the good takes and the stuff to look out for. So, obviously the most glaring thing right now about the Bulls is they sit 2 games back with 2 to play. And, I was talking with a friend earlier and he pointed out that Washington has 2 very, very, very easy winnable games. And the Bulls have 2 quite hard, not so winnable games. Where do you see this going over the course of the next 2 games? I thought I was muted at first.
Did we lose Salim there for a second?
I think we did. I thought it was my internet again. I was like, come on, not again.
Yeah, I think we did lose Salim there for a minute. I'll remove him from the studio. We'll try to bring him back in here in just a second. No sweat there.
Live show, folks. Things happen.
For sure. No.
So, Andrew, I ask you, 2 games to play, 2 games back. Washington with Cleveland and I believe Minnesota, and the Bulls got Milwaukee and somebody else. I forget who. Where do you see this going?
Man, as much as I would love to just be my diehard Bulls fan and say that the Bulls are going to win both of them. All right, I'll say it. The Bulls are going to win both their games. But I don't really. So if the Bulls win both of their games, does Washington have to lose out for them to get the spot?
Yes. Washington just has to win 1 game, and no matter what the Bulls do, it's over.
So in that case, I think that we probably have slim to no chance.
Right. They're probably not going to make the playoffs. It's okay. We can
the
admit
odds
it.
Are definitely against us. Yeah, the odds are definitely against us. With that being said, who knows?
I will give you this piece of information to hang your hat on, as they say. Bradley Beal has missed the last 3 games with a hamstring. So
Well,
maybe he
hopefully
doesn't
that
play.
hammy stays a little tight and he doesn't play the next 2
maybe
games.
Mr. Triple Double forgets how to play basketball and has one of those OKC games where he goes like 3 for 28 shooting and they get blown out.
Yeah, no, I agree. I would love to see that. I don't think it's realistic, but
See, we had a great show going, and now our guy Allen had to ruin it.
they should be dropping to try and get the 4 pick. Get that shit off my screen. I don't want to see that again.
See, that's the problem because the odds of actually getting a top 4 pick is not very likely. We just covered that. They got lucky with Derrick Rose.
It's a roll of the dice. I mean, realistically, I hate that mentality. I absolutely despise. No, it's not. For one, it's not likely. For two, it's not practical. I don't think that's
all you're going to do is get a better pick for Orlando. Win as many games as you can. Try to get in the playoffs and screw it to Orlando for taking our first round pick.
Oh, we got our guy Angelo here saying, and Allen is right. What?
Oh,
you're hopping on that lottery pick bandwagon.
You know,
frustrating, but you know, different strokes.
Just when I was starting to, really feel good about the brain trust here at 1252, they say some dumb shit like that.
It's 25% chance.
But just in the nick of time before we're going to deal with more of Allen's nonsense, it looks like we have Salim back. So let's try this again.
Hey, sorry about that, gentlemen. My internet was acting up. Hopefully, it doesn't.
You're all good.
No problem. Things happen, especially when you're doing a live pod. So we get it
for sure. Hopefully, it doesn't happen again. I have no clue what happened. So
were you able to hear the question before you cut out, or?
No, I did not. I was like halfway in.
You're good. So I said, with really the glaring thing right now about this Bulls team is they sit 2 games back with 2 games to play, and Washington having 2 very winnable games, and they only have to win 1. And the Bulls having 2 hard games, having to beat Milwaukee, and I forget who the other team is, but they got to win both and have Washington lose out. Where do we realistically see this season ending up?
Yeah, I'll be surprised if Washington loses. I'll be surprised if they lose today. Actually, I know they were up 2 at half. I haven't checked again what the score is if into the third quarter as of now, but yeah, I'll be surprised if they lose today to the Cavs. Cavs are actually masterfully tanking. So
they definitely are.
We were thinking that maybe they would beat Indiana, but obviously that didn't work out in the Bulls' favor. But yeah, I would be pretty surprised if the Bulls make that play-in game. I think there's been some things that was unfortunate. Obviously, missing Zach for that 2 weeks kind of played part into it.
If anything helped Zach's stock with the Bulls on how important he is to what they have there, it was them going 2 weeks without him and the offense looking like it was night and day from when he played.
Yeah, it's interesting. Well, the offense didn't struggle as bad just because you had a guy like Vooch that you didn't have before.
Right.
The main thing, it was shot creation. Like you don't have a lot of that on the Bulls.
No, they don't have many guys that can create their own.
Exactly. And I think a lot of the teams that beat got teams that were like depleted with injuries as well, limited rotation players, or some really weak teams like Cleveland. By the way, we also lost to Cleveland by 15 that same span too. So it wasn't like
you come on the show and you throw haymakers like that right out of the gate.
No, but it just kind of shows like how missing Zach affected that, and then the midseason trade too. When you add a player like Vooch, it's when you don't have any practices, you're trying to incorporate such a high usage player chaining.
It looks like Salim might be frozen on us again.
Man, look at that face. He's like, "Oh, the damn Bulls."
Internet issues are going to plague him, unfortunately, tonight.
But to his point, look at that. He's right back.
That's weird. I didn't, because my internet was still working when it apparently froze me. So I don't know what happened again.
You're all good. So you were talking about Vooch. So how hot? Obviously, he's 30 years old. He's not a 23-year-old player, but he is still in the prime of his career and does have a few years where he should still be at that level. how high is the ceiling for a guy like him? Can he be obviously the most common comparison is Jokic because he's that type of center. He can pass out of the post, he can pass out to the 3-point line, you can work it inside back out, he shoots, you play the pick and roll. Can he be a big time difference maker, or is he going to be a second tier B player?
So I think him and Zach are probably about equal here when I look at them as far as who they are at. I don't think they can be either of them are number ones, if you will. Vooch
you just broke our guy. Allen. He thinks Zach is like the best player in the league.
No, he's really good. He's really good. He's just there's like a handful of guys in this league that can really be a number one.
Yeah,
Zach I can see Zach being a first option, but that's kind of different than being the best player.
Right,
like the first scoring option. It's a little different. But yeah, to get back to Vooch, I think he's probably what the Bulls are trying to do and what AK is trying to do is probably build a similar team to Denver, maybe like a Denver light. Because Vooch isn't Jokic. That guy just a different, he is a number one. He is that elite player at a different level. He's pretty much a point guard playing center. When you look at the way he plays, the things he does at the high level, he's going to be the MVP. If he isn't the MVP, people are, I don't know what anyone's smoking, the people who are voting for MVP.
I completely agree with you. I argue with people every day who are like, oh, it's Embiid, it's this guy.
No.
It starts and stops with Jokic.
Yeah, this season it's been him. Maybe Embiid would have had a better argument if he didn't
get hurt. Right.
Yeah, hurt.
Right.
But yeah, so you look at the Bulls, I think that's the kind of team that they're trying to build, like a Denver light. And that's going to be the big question on going into this offseason. What K can do as far as AK can add to this team, what he can build around Zach and Nikola and see what they can get going.
So now when you talk about Denver light, and obviously AK is always going to have that comparison to Denver because he helped build Denver. Do you see Zach playing the Jamal Murray role where he's going to be the main ball handler moving forward? Or do you think that they go out and look for a primary ball handler and Zach's going to play that traditional 2-guard? Or will he be more of that Jamal Murray since they have Vooch who can take some of the ball handling away from him?
Well, so in Denver, the offense really runs to Jokic. He's the guy, he's the hub. He's the initial hub. And the secondary guys like Jamal Murray and whoever around on the perimeter. Those and then I think Michael right now since Jamal is out with his injury, his knee injury. Michael Porter Jr. is kind of taking that second, role as the second guy.
Boy, he come around. If we could go back and do that again and get Michael Porter Jr. But a lot of teams are saying that right now.
Definitely. But it's so to look at that team, I think with Zach, he's a better scorer than Jamal Murray, as a scoring option. I think. Yeah. Jamal Murray is really good as a scorer, but he's a lot more of a microwave scorer where he'll go to some stretches where he's not as good, but then all of a sudden he'll just have like 3 games in a row where he just adds 40.
He reminds me of a kind of guy that he plays his best on the big moments, and he really gets up for those big games. You'll see that he's hitting shots that he has no business making, but over the course of a season, you see where that's just not who he is.
No, correct.
It reminds me a lot of Zach. We've seen Zach a lot in the fourth quarter taking shots where he's on fire, and then he takes a shot, and we're all like, "Oh my God, why did you shoot that?"
Yeah. So I mean, in that mode, like I said, I think Zach's better than Jamal, but obviously Vooch isn't as good as Jokic. But like I said, they can be that Denver light, and I think they do need a ball handler at a point in the fourth quarter that can limit turnovers. Right now, like I said, we try to play to Vooch, but he's not that same level of a playmaker passer as Jokic. He's good, but he's not the guy that we haven't seen that as far as him being as that big of a playmaker out of the post. He's good, like I said, but I think you do need that ball handler in the fourth quarter. that can take the ball out of hand of Kobe and Zach and limit those turnovers. Because a lot of this season, a lot of the games that the Bulls did lose late in the game, even before the trade, it was because just like Zach and Kobe turning the ball over like combined like 5, 6, 7 times in the fourth quarter. And when that happens, you're setting yourself up for failure. You can't have these turnovers over and over again. But that's a lot to, like I said, that's not a role for them at this point. Maybe it changes going into next season. Maybe Kobe does get better. He has improved. I feel like this second half since they got Vucevic, he has gotten a little better. But yeah, I think they do need to probably add like a veteran ball handler, someone that can play off of that Zach and Kobe can play off of in the fourth, but then it can also play off of those guys as like a spot up shooter. And I think at times that's why a guy like Lonzo Ball works in the
I love LaMelo Ball.
LaMelo would have been great. No,
would that have been awesome?
LaMelo would have been great. But no, Lonzo Ball works too, because Lonzo is technically not a lead initiator, but you can kind of hand him the ball. He can play off of guys too, because he's a good spot up shooter. He's a great defender. Like, he's a very good defender, and that's something else that the Bulls lack on the perimeter, on the backcourt, is defense.
I got one here for you, switching gears towards the future a little bit, Salim. Obviously, a lot of people are saying we have 2 out of the 3 players that we need for the big 3, so to speak, with that being Zach and Vooch. Who do you think the Bulls go after to complete that big 3 in free agency?
There's a lot of variables all the time in the NBA. Whoever becomes available. Excuse me. As of now, I know the rumors in the past, whatever, have always been about Bradley Beal, just because there's so many connections with Bradley Beal. As far as with Billy Donovan, he coached him. Bradley Beal has said positive things about the Bulls. But right now, there isn't any clear-cut answer, just because you don't know who will be available. As far as Bradley Beal's fit, I think it could work, because imagine this. Instead of Kobe, put Beal in that same spot. That's a lot better, right? So
absolutely.
So I see it that way. But, you know, that's down the line, because he's under contract. He's not asking for a trade. He's not going to be a free agent until I think at the earliest next summer. That's if he opts out. So, yeah, it varies. Like I said, in the NBA, it's very fluid. And like a month from now, 2 months from now, when the playoffs end, all of a sudden we could find out that so-and-so player that we had no clue is all of a sudden unhappy and wants out. So we'll see.
Oh, for sure.
What do you think of the possibility that a guy like Kawhi Leonard, who they have not had the success they thought they would have with the Clippers, he has the opportunity to opt out after this year? Is that a guy that maybe he opts out, or do you see him staying with the Clippers long term?
So right now, I do see him staying long term, because he wanted to go home. That was his choice. Like LA, where he's from, that's where he wanted to be. Since the year that last year that he was with the Spurs, he wanted to go to LA. Again, things can change. Let's say they get into the playoffs, they lose in the first round. By some whatever miracle, they lose in the first round, and he gets mad. He's like, you know what? I wanted to come home, but at the same time, I don't like losing. So I want to go to another franchise. Now, obviously, the Bulls technically are not a better situation right now, technically, compared to what the Clippers are at. But you never know. You add him to Zach and Vooch, that's a really good team all of a sudden, right? That's a team that can come out of the East easily. And then you never know what happens. Like I said, he couldn't be convinced, especially the reputation around the league has improved for the Bulls, where they're considered. You see a guy like Kevin Durant himself has, on his own, not even anyone asking him. I don't know if you heard that pod, and he was on JJ Redick's pod. They asked him, who do you like around the league? And he's talked glowingly about Zach LaVine. Another podcast, they just asked him, like, what team around the league do you like? And he's like, I really like what Chicago's doing. They're doing with Zach, Vooch, what they have with Kobe. Like, without like a media guy asking him. So he's not just trying to be nice. He legit feels that way. You've seen guys like Chris Paul speak up about the Bulls and what's going on in Chicago right now. So that a reputation makes a difference, and maybe Kawhi would notice that as well. If by miracle he would leave the Clippers, maybe he would choose the Bulls as an option.
So, Tarbo, you heard it here first. Salim just said that the Bulls are going to trade for Kevin Durant. Kevin Durant's going to come play for the Bulls. That's what I just heard.
I don't think that's quite what he was getting at, but you can paraphrase however you want. There,
Kevin Durant was we were gonna do a sign and trade. They get Larry Markkinen and Billy Donovan's house, and AK is gonna buy Katie a new car. And
listen, if
all that, and Katie's gonna come over.
If the Nets GM has a lobotomy in the next couple of months, that would be fantastic. But I don't see that happening either. So.
Right there at the trade deadline, there was a lot of rumors about Lonzo Ball. Correct. Obviously, nothing came to fruition. The Bulls didn't have the first round pick to give up that it came out that was wanted for him. Do you think that's a guy that we pursue heavy here in free agency if he's available?
I think they will. They'll try to go after him again. They'll revisit what they can do to try to work something out. I'm thinking the Knicks are going to be probably the hardest team to beat because they're going to actually have a lot of cap space this offseason, and they do need to add a point guard. I don't know what their future long-term plans are with Derrick Rose. I know that's another name as far as the Bulls could potentially go after. I do like the leadership aspect. He doesn't necessarily solve that defensive guard in the backcourt, but he does solve. I think the Bulls do need more of a vocal leader in the locker room, someone that these guys can look after, because there's been a lot of moments this season where we've talked about so-and-so like Vooch and Thad saying guys weren't prepared to play, and that's just, not something you want to hear. Zach obviously isn't one of those guys that's a vocal leader. He's always ready to play. He comes in and goes hard. He works hard out in the offseason, but at this point, he's not been that vocal guy yet. So maybe Derrick could be that guy. Who knows? I don't know what the Bulls will do as far as going after him.
I have two stipulations for Derrick Rose coming back to the Bulls. A, he's got to go back to number one. I don't want to see none of this 25 or 4 or any of that crap. I want to see number one, and he's got to cut his damn hair. I don't want the long hair Derrick Rose. I want the shaved head, close cut MVP Derrick Rose. That's who I want.
Well, that Derrick Rose is beyond us, though, right? Let's be realistic. Don't get me wrong; he's had some good play in New York.
Look at the year he's having. He's having a great year.
Oh,
not a lot of talent.
I mean, he's doing really well as far as being in running for the Sixth Man of the Year award. He's probably him or Jordan Clarkson are going to be the Sixth Man of the Year.
Could he possibly win the six? I was talking about this with somebody the other day. I'm sorry, I don't mean to cut you off. But is it realistic to think that he has a chance to win the Sixth Man and the Comeback Player of the Year in the same season?
Yeah, it can happen. I mean, they don't relegate how many awards you can get. Like last year, for example, Giannis got Defensive Player of the Year and MVP. So yeah, you can win multiple awards, definitely.
I'm all for it. I think he should win both. He's having a great year. The Knicks are having an amazing year. No, I don't think anybody saw that come in. Julius Randle is finally looking like the guy that the Lakers thought they were getting when they drafted him. But so like I said, I would love to see Derrick Rose. We'll just maybe we could trade Laurie or somebody to Miami and bring Jimmy Butler back. We get the band back together. We already talked about Boozer. We get Noah out there. Just get the band back together.
I would love.
Come on now.
I would love Jimmy back, but I think those, unfortunately, those days are done. I think Jimmy's pretty happy in Miami.
Jimmy's very, very steady in Miami.
Exactly. But overall, for the Bulls offseason, it's going to be very interesting as how AK approaches it, because they can create cap space, but it won't be a lot of cap space, and then you have to let go of certain players like Tice, for example. You have to renounce his rights. You have to clear other guys off. Obviously, Larry. Well, that's not a problem. He's going to be gone regardless.
Get rid of him.
A guy like Larry Markkinen, and obviously he's going to go somewhere else, but you have to renounce his right that and you can't sign and trade him at that point. So I think the best route, I've seen a lot of people mention this, is just to bring a lot of these guys back and operate as an over the cap team. Yeah. So what happens with Larry, it'll be interesting. I think I think maybe with it, there's maybe been communication with his agent, maybe try to work out a sign and trade to another team. I know San Antonio has been brought up a lot for a destination for him, that they had interest in him. So maybe you can work out a sign and trade and create a large traded player exception. And what essentially that means is you have so let's say you trade Larry to San Antonio for $18 million on an average yearly $18 million a year, as an example. The Bulls then would maybe get like a second rounder in return, and then would also get that $18 million space where then they can go to another team and be like, look, you guys don't want this guy anymore. We'll just go ahead and take his contract on us, and we'll send you a second rounder or something like that, where they can kind of match that, that contract into their onto their roster by having that exception on hand. And then, like I said, bringing back Tice, that'll be tricky too, because depending how much he wants, and again, ownership has to approve all this. I'm hoping they've changed and they don't do the same stuff that did in the past, where they restrict how much the front office can spend. But like I said, then if they operate as an over the cap team, and then they also have the ability to use their full mid-level exception, which is about $9 or $10 million, then they can maybe add another player on top of that. So I think by doing those things might be the best route, because then what can happen in going into the off season, into the regular season too, once there's a deadline passes, then you can start looking to trade guys again, and like December 15th ish, depending on when the league will start. I think it'll probably start at normal time this time around, but there's a cutoff, and then you can try to trade, and at that point maybe you can trade Tice for a player that fits better for your roster overall, and make movements like that. And then going into next offseason, obviously depending on, I think the Bulls should have a decent amount of cap space next offseason, and I think there's better free agents available too. But there's ways to improve the team even marginally this offseason. And then again, you have a full training camp. Guys like Pat Williams will have a proper offseason of training along with Summer League. And then, like I said, you go into training camp, have more chemistry build, maybe a couple of pieces that you've added in the offseason. I can see the Bulls, taking off from there, maybe becoming a decent to solid playoff team.
It would be very interesting to see, and it's something that we haven't seen in Chicago in a long time as Bulls fans. So I would be all for it. Salim, did you have a chance to make it out to the United Center since they reopened?
I have not yet. Unfortunately, I'm unemployed right now, so I'm trying not to spend too much money. That's why I'm shaved. I thought I saw someone ask what happened to the beard. That's why I shaved.
That was our guy Fat Mike here.
Yeah, I had to shave it because you kind of try to look a little clean when you're trying to interview for a new job. So yeah, I had to shave it for that. But yeah, I'm hoping that I can make it out at least by next fall. I'm gonna try to go to some games overall. I'm going to try to go, some Chicago Sky games.
Definitely.
Yeah, try to support them. There should be a fun team. They got Candace
Parker.
Yeah. They should be. I'm hoping they can be the first team along with the White Sox. I'm a White Sox fan, but I'm hoping they can bring in a championship. Man, that'd be awesome.
Yeah, I would love to see the Sky. They've been close before, even when they were supposed to be good, they seem to tail off. So I'd love to see Candace Parker back and some of the other, girls they got over there, or women they got over there. I'd really like to see them take that step forward this year.
For sure.
So you just broke news that I didn't know on our network, is that you're a White Sox fan.
I am. I'm all about the White Sox. I'm a huge White Sox fan. I don't hate the Cubs. I joke around about stuff about the Cubs, but I'm a White Sox fan. That's for sure.
Hey, my dad's a White Sox fan. I'm a Cubs fan. Whatever.
Well,
I follow both teams, so I got no hate for the White Sox like a bunch of other Cubs fans. But that's a topic for another day, man. Salim, we really appreciate you jumping on with us and giving us your insight. As Vince said, a little bit more of a professional opinion when it comes to the Bulls than either of us. So thanks for jumping on with us, man. It was a lot of fun to have you, and we look forward to talking to you again here soon. Hopefully, once the season gets started and we've turned some things around, or even, we have some breaking news during the offseason, we'll have to have you jump on with us and talk about the Bulls' future a little bit more. So thank you so much for joining us. We appreciate it.
Yeah, definitely appreciate you guys having me on. Again, I apologize for the technical difficulties.
Oh, you're all good.
But yeah,
no problem
I
at all.
appreciate it, you guys letting me come on. And again, thank you again for considering me an expert.
Yeah, no doubt. You're an expert and you're a great friend of the show. So
before we let you go, can you let everybody know where we can find you, Salim?
Yeah, you can follow me at Jordan Dynasty on Twitter. You can follow my co-host as well at Edward Schuler Jr. His last name is spelled Shuler. I when I first met him, I used to always put a C in his last name, so I like to let people know there's no C there. It's just SH. So you can follow him there, and then you can also listen to our podcast wherever major or minor podcast platform is available, and then also tune in on Tuesday mornings at 8 a.m. Central on Nothing But Net Radio.
Love it.
Thanks again, Salim, man. We'll talk soon. Appreciate you coming on with us. Have a good night.
Thank you, gentlemen. You guys have a good night as well.
You too. Thanks.
Man, Salim's always such a fun guest. His Bulls takes. I mean, he's one of those guys that will give you the analytics of it and give you his opinion all in just one flow. And
right.
I love talking with him because he brings so much more insight into the nitty-gritty, so to speak, of the Chicago Bulls.
Yeah, absolutely. He's great. Like I said, he's a great friend of the show and a great guest every time he's on. So we really appreciate him coming out.
Real quick, guys, that interview with our guy Salim from Bulls Gold was brought to you by the Jonathan Darren team with the Coldwell Banker Real Estate Group.
Hi, I'm Jonathan Darren, licensed real estate broker with Coldwell Banker Real Estate Group in Homer Glen. Are you looking to buy or sell? Have you been disappointed in the past? The Jonathan Darren team with Coldwell Banker Real Estate Group focuses on providing you with a concierge level of service during the process of buying or selling. We are a service-oriented team with a fresh and professional approach to selling real estate. Our goal is to combine knowledge, skills, and passion to exceed our clients' expectations, and most of all, we truly care. We are a knowledgeable real estate team focused on offering expertise and innovative solutions for our clients. The Jonathan Darren team has 5 full-service real estate brokers and a dedicated full-time marketer servicing all of Chicagoland. We will customize a detailed plan around your timeline for a sale, purchase, investment, estate, or other needs. Real estate transactions can be stressful, but don't need to be. Let us handle it for you. Visit our website, homesbyjdt.com, or call 708-308-1938 today. Expect better in real estate. Choose the Jonathan Darren team.
All right, guys. Again, that was a quick word from the Jonathan Darren team with the Coldwell Banker Real Estate Group. If you're looking to buy a home in the area, definitely reach out to John and his team. They're great. They've helped our buddy Fat Mike out a couple times, and they'll be sure to help you out. Now, Vince, I got to ask you a question, and this is kind of just throwing the loop. But if you take Derrick Rose and you take Michael Jordan out of the equation, I'll even say take Scottie Pippen out of the equation, who's your favorite Bull besides those 3 that I just named? All time.
Dennis Rodman.
Really? You're a Rodman fan?
Dennis Rodman, who, in fact, it's his birthday today. So I doubt he's listening, but if this gets to you, happy birthday, Dennis.
Oh, man. I loved watching Dennis play. Just some of the – not obviously he was such a great defensive player, such a solid rebounder, but just some of his on-the-court antics and, everything that surrounded him as a player was just crazy to watch. And, obviously when The Last Dance was released, we saw a whole nother side of Dennis Rodman that maybe people weren't as familiar with and stuff like that. So it was.
Did you ever see I believe it was a 30 for 30, or it might have been an NBA.com a basketball channel special, one or the other, but it was about Dennis Rodman. And it was like from back when he was a kid all the way through the pros.
I haven't, but I'm going to have to take a look at that because I've always enjoyed him.
I'm going to cut you off. There's a part in there, and this is really what really made, like, I always liked Rodman. He was cool to watch. He was cool as a kid growing up, in Chicago. You got the big overpass when you're on the highway, and they used to change. I don't know if you noticed, but they used to change the color. They had him and Jordan and all them on the side of the highway, and they literally used to change his color of his hair like every couple days. They would go and they'd change the color of the paint for his hair because he changed his hair color so often. And they actually had to take them off. He had to take him off the billboard or the side of the building because traffic was backing up. People were stopping to watch to see what color his hair was going to be.
Really? No, I hadn't heard that, but that's cool,
so that
man.
was, it was really cool. I remember that as a kid. But to get back on track, so in this show or this special, they used to, I forget who they interviewed, but they used to talk, they said in the free throw line or the warm-up line, they all take jump shots in the shoot around. And he said he would stand in a line, and when guys would shoot, he would be like short right, long left, straight, in. And he would be dead on every time. He would call out where the ball was going before it even got to the rim. He would just stand and watch, and he could call out if it was going to be a short rebound to the right, a long rebound to the left, if it was going to go in. See, and they asked him, he said that, growing up, he wasn't the fastest. He obviously was not a scorer, all that stuff. But, so he figured out I can rebound. Like, that's just effort. I can out rebound anybody I want just by having that drive and that effort of being better than they are and putting in more than they do. And he learned when he did it, well, then I get to stay on the floor. So that's what he did.
Right.
And it didn't hurt. He was a guard, but he never really scored. And then all of a sudden he grew to 6'10", and he was like, shit, now I'm long. Back then he was long for a power forward.
Right.
Now you see guys playing power forward at 6'8", 6'7", but guys were big back then. So he had to read, okay, this is where the ball is going. This is where the ball is going. And it was just really cool to hear him talk about the philosophy and everything he put into learning how to rebound.
That read and react process,
Yeah,
for sure. And
absolutely.
I don't think anybody displayed it better as a rebounder than him. But I got to go back to that question that I asked you, Vince. And I'm going to have to go with Joakim Noah for myself, man.
Okay.
I always loved watching Joakim on the floor. And obviously he's a little bit more recent than Rodman, a little bit different of a game. But, man, he was just as great of a defender as any. I loved watching him play in the paint. Very good rebounder, very good defensive player. And he had his knack for shooting as well. That little floater that he always put up.
Weird
free
shot.
throw, yeah. I loved it, man. Joakim was a character, man. I loved watching him play for Chicago, and obviously there was a lot of good talent around him as well, and he thrived off that. But
So I know I'm a little older than you are, but do you remember the because
here we go with
Allen
the comments from the old men. You don't know that because you were like 2 when that happened, Tarbill. Okay, well, to be fair, I did get to watch some of the second three-peat live, and I remember it.
So to speak to one of my other favorite players was Ron Harper. Obviously they got him towards the end of his career. He wasn't like he was when he was drafted by Cleveland, but the knees weren't what they used to be when the Bulls had him. But he was a guy he was a great passer, and he was an amazing defender. He would get there and he'd lock up anybody, point guard, shooting guard, small forward, didn't matter. So when you had all sorts of guys like that, you could guard anybody you wanted. When you got guys like Harper and Pippen and Rodman, and even Kukoc played good defense. So when all that went into it, man, I forgot to ask Salim. I wanted to ask him about that kid overseas that the Bulls have stashed away. I don't remember his name, but I was watching something not too long ago, and they were talking about how he could be a key piece to the Bulls. How they think that he could be a really, really good player. And I wanted to ask Salim about him, and I forgot. Damn, this liveness. Can't go back and redo it.
Well, we'll have to ask Salim the next time we have him on, man. He's always a great guest, as I said. And, he brought up Brad Beal. I know we all have our thoughts about this man. I know you're shaking your head right now because you're not on the Brad Beal train.
I just want to see them get a true point guard. Get somebody who can take the ball out of Zach's hand part of the game. It's okay if he's got it once they get across half court. But Zach's not the guy I want bringing the ball up court. And to Salim's point, Vooch is not as great of a passer as Jokic. He's a great passer for a center and for a big. for a 7-footer, but he's not Jokic. And I mean, not many people
Right.
are. That's why he's, as good as he is. But, so they just need somebody in those key game situations to handle the rock. And I don't think that's Zach. He forces shots at times, the worst times to take them. And, he just doesn't always see that open lane, and he tends to turn the ball over. So,
yeah, that's one thing. As much as I do love Zach LaVine as a scorer, man, you touched on it a little bit. You see him put up some dumb shots in the fourth quarter, just trying to pad his stat line. And that's something that
I don't even know that it's padding his stat line. I think he just is one of those guys that he gets in a rhythm, and every shot he makes, the basket gets a little bigger to him, to the point that the basket looks like an ocean, and he's throwing a beach ball into the ocean. And he's like, man, 3 guys on me, I got it. Bam.
Well, he's
Come
not
across, Steph Curry pull up, bam, and he misses them. And it's
but
like
he's not Denzel Valentine. I mean, wasn't it Denzel Valentine that shot up that ridiculous 3 that just airballed not too long ago?
If there's anything that happened on the Bulls that was horrible and awful and made you want to rake your eyes out, odds are it was Denzel Valentine that did it.
I know you're not a fan of him. He's
not a fan.
I know you hate him. You very much dislike him as a player.
I don't hate him. Hate is a very strong word.
You dislike him very much as a player.
I would very much like to never see Denzel Valentine ever again on any team.
Fair enough.
I don't even want to see him in the Big 3 or whatever that's called with Ice Cube or Ice T. No, Ice Cube. He's got the Big 3, and he's got ballers there like Josh Smith and guys like that. But I don't ever want to see Denzel Valentine ever again. And it's not his fault.
Understood. You can add 10 more evers. I get it.
It's not his fault, but they told us he was the next great savior of the Bulls.
But they've said that about so many players, and it's never came true, Vince.
That's why that regime isn't here anymore, because they suck too.
This team has been plagued ever since Jerry Krause thought that. Ever since that Jerry Krause thought he could rebuild a championship team. I mean, obviously we had our run in 08 where we lost in the playoffs to the Celtics.
See, now you're gonna upset me. Now you had to bring up Krause and all this crap.
I'm just saying, man, us as Bulls fans, us as Chicago fans in general, but Bulls specifically, man, we deserve better.
We got cheated. We should have had more of Jordan. We should have had more. They could have won more championships.
They could have at least won one more, but let's not even go back that far.
And for Tim Floyd, Krause chose Tim Floyd over Michael Jordan. God bless it. See, Tarble.
Hindsight's 2020, right? That's all I can say about that is hindsight's 2020.
It was Tim Floyd or Michael Jordan.
I agree. I think it was a dumb choice, but do you think Jerry Krause sits at home thinking about the dumb decisions he made then? Absolutely. I'm sure he does.
Awful. So moving on. So where do you think, if we're going to go Big 3, where do you see who is that third guy? If come the start of next season, they say, man, we're season opener and the Bulls big 3, Zach LaVine, Nicholas Vucevic, and who is that third guy?
I think it's Lonzo Ball.
You think it's Lonzo Ball?
I think it's Lonzo Ball. Obviously, they made quite the push for him there at the trade deadline. And realistically, I think they just continue to keep that push going in free agency. And I hope that they do go after him successfully and get him, because he's a guy that could make an immediate impact on this team. He's a guy that can pass the ball very, very well. And I think that you get a guy like that, we're literally one step away, right? We've been saying it this whole season, especially since we ended up with Vooch now, and we got our guy Allen trying to say Beal in the comments. Yeah, I get it. You can spell 4-letter words, my friend, but it's probably not going to happen.
4-letter words on here.
It's probably not going to happen. I don't think Brad Beal's the right fit for this Bulls team. And we could go circles and circles about that
Do
till I'm
we
blue in the
do
face.
we
but-
have to be realistic about who the big three could be?
Yeah. No, give me your unrealistic pick. As long as you don't say LeBron James, we're good.
No. You know who one of my favorite players to watch in the NBA is? And I guess it's because he reminds me a little bit of KD with the size, obviously a different position, is Brandon Ingram. I love watching Brandon Ingram's offensive game. He's a great shooter. Doesn't matter who's guarding him. He just rises up over him and shoots. He plays good defense. He gets good rebounds. And he passes well. He's 6'7". He's only 190 pounds, but he's 6'7", and he's got the wingspan of like 7'1". Like, the dude is a freak, but I love watching him play. I thought the Lakers kept the wrong guy in the Anthony Davis trade. They should have kept Brandon Ingram instead of that stooge Kyle Kuzma. I was really hoping the Pelicans weren't going to re-sign Brandon Ingram this offseason, but they did. They gave him a max deal, so I doubt he'd be available. But, that Pelicans organization just seems like they don't really know what they want to be or who they want to be. And if for any possibility that he becomes available, I'd have to be all in. Obviously, you're not going to give up Zach or Vooch or Patrick Williams. But anybody outside of that, even if it took Kobe White, like if he became available, they decide they didn't like the max deal they gave him, that I'd be all in on that dude.
Oh, I'd get rid of Kobe White in a heartbeat if it was for Brandon Ingram. I don't think that's even really a question, right? But
I'd get rid of Benny the Bull for Brandon Ingram, to be honest.
Oh, you can't leave Benny alone. He's a staple.
Why? We just have Bobby the Bull.
Whatever you say, brother. But realistically, I think it's going to be Lonzo Ball. I think he's going to be the guy that fills that big three. You obviously gave me your best case scenario, but be real with it, Vince.
What if it's Anthony Davis?
We don't need all them eyebrows over here in Chicago.
No, I think he shaved his eyebrows. I don't think he's got a unibrow anymore.
He did.
Was that like an LA thing? Was that like, did they tell him like, hey, we're gonna trade for you, but you gotta shave the unibrow before you come over?
I don't know what it was.
Maybe LeBron doesn't like unibrows. Maybe they freak him out. Like, could you imagine?
I thought you were gonna say maybe LeBron get out of here.
No. I'm saying, like, could you imagine? Like, yeah, you know what? Hold on, let me post it first before I go on a tangent. Our guy Allen said AD signed that big deal. Yeah, he did, but him and LeBron both signed it where they got opt-outs so they could try to go after somebody else when the free agency becomes available and now new TV money comes in. So maybe, he opts out and then all of a sudden the Bulls could slide in and grab him and he can come back to Chicago. Just saying. I said I wasn't gonna be realistic.
Why would you want to come play for a team like Chicago if you're Anthony Davis?
Because he's from here and they got great things going. And I said I wasn't going to be realistic. This is my game. In my game, everybody wants to play here.
In that case, Damian Lillard's going to be our next point guard.
I don't like Damian Lillard. See, you don't even know me.
Well, that's where you're wrong.
What?
And that's okay.
How could I be wrong if I said I don't like him? I didn't say he's not good. I just said I don't like him. I'm not wrong. I really don't like him.
Fair enough. I'm just saying.
But you said you did bring up a little segue here. I like what you did there. You said Damian Lillard. The rumor came out this week about CJ McCollum being on the Bulls' target list. How do you think CJ McCollum would fit with this team? That would obviously make Zach the ball handler, but CJ got some handles too. He's only 6'3". He plays that 2 guard in Portland, but that's because you got, like you said, one of the best point guards in the league in Damian Lillard. What do you think? Could CJ come in here and play the point? Could he run the offense through CJ and distribute more than he's been in Portland, or would he be another Bradley Beal type?
I think he would be more of a Bradley Beal type. I do like the fact that there's been reports that the Bulls are interested in him. I think he's a guy you could get in here and he could also make an immediate impact. But realistically, I think if that's the case, you put Zach at the 1, you shift Zach to the 1, and you put him at the 2. You've got 2 guys that aren't necessarily elite passers or elite ball handlers, but
and 2 horrible defenders.
Well, the combination of the 2 offensively, I think, would be good enough to get some good things done. With that being said, you keep bringing up defense, man. The defense in this league is just soft.
But why? But why does it have to be nobody? Like some of the guys play defense. T.J. McConnell. So here's okay. I know Allen, our guy Allen. He's going to get a great kick out of this. I know I've been on this show. Obviously, every week I'm on this show, but I've been on this show a lot talking about Lonzo Ball. I am off the Lonzo Ball kick. I have a new guy, and this is realistic.
Really?
This is realistic now. This is not a pipe dream. This is a realistic guy that the Bulls could go get. I have a new guy that I want to see the Bulls go get. Do you have any guesses on who it is? It is a point guard, a true point guard, and he plays in the division right now.
Man, I don't know with you. I don't know what you're thinking. Who do you got, Vince? Who do you want to see the Bulls go
I want to
after?
give Alan Bratcher a chance. Alan, do you have a guess? Post your guess if you have a guess on who I'm speaking about. Mind you, it's a realistic option for the Bulls. He's a free agent after this year. He is a true point guard, and he plays in the division. Do we have a Jeopardy song to play?
Oh.
Dennis? Is that he's talking about Dennis Smith Jr.? He
Dennis
plays in Dallas.
Schroeder?
Neither of them play in the division. What is he talking about? You know what? Oh, that's Sport Court. Never mind. I thought that was Allen. So Sport Court says Dennis Schroeder. That would be a great pick. I like him, but I think he stays in LA. So the guy I'm all in on is TJ McConnell.
Really?
TJ McConnell plays for the Indiana Pacers. For all of you out there who don't know who he is, the dude is a stud. He's a 3-point shooter.
Wrong sport.
He's a great passer, and he plays defense. He's averaging like 3 steals a game, y'all. There was a game this year. He had 10 steals. 10!
Okay.
10 steals.
I can respect it.
So you get a guy that not only plays great point, you run the ball through him. He is a great distributor. He can shoot the ball for 3. He could drive to the lane a little bit, and he plays elite defense. And he's not going to cost that much. I'm all in. That's the dude. That's the dude right there.
You know, I don't think you're wrong. I think it would be a good pick. Do you think that he would want to come to the Bulls, though, is the question.
I mean, why not? He just played in Indiana. Nobody wants to play for the Pacers. If I told you could go do a show in Indiana or you could come do a show here, what would you pick?
Well, obviously I would pick Chicago. Clearly, we're on a Chicago sports network, but you know, I don't know. Indiana's not all that bad. There's guys that work in the city that live in Indiana.
I'll tell you what, though, I do like Sabonis for the Pacers. That kid,
absolutely.
That kid is the real deal. He does it all, too. He's like a Jokic type, but a little more physical than Jokic and not quite as big. But did you see him in the skills contest this year at the All-Star game?
I did. Absolutely crazy.
Yeah. But no, staying realistic, I think that's the guy that the Bulls should go after. I think he'd be easier to get than Lonzo Ball. I think he'd be cheaper than Lonzo Ball.
But is he better than Lonzo Ball?
You know, Lonzo's a really special passer.
Elite.
TJ, yeah, absolutely. He's an elite passer. You know, TJ, he's a really good passer. Maybe not to that level, but I think Lonzo's good defensively, but TJ's better defensively. So I think TJ, you know, he started in Philadelphia for a little while. He put up some numbers. I think given a chance to start again, especially with a guy like Zach and Vooch out there with him, and even Patrick Williams, I think that you could really see something there. You know, if you ran the lineup with TJ, Zach at the 2, I think Patrick Williams is probably more of a small 4 at this point than he is at 3. He doesn't, you know, that 3, you're really going to need that offense at 3.
Right.
So run Patrick Williams at the 4 and Vooch at the 5. Now you're really just looking for that small forward spot, you know, or you know, now this I will I'm gonna throw this one out there.
Okay.
You sign TJ McConnell, who is cheap. Let's be honest, he's cheap. He's not very expensive.
No, agreed.
You sign TJ McConnell, and you sign Brad Beal. You play
back to Bradley Beal.
You play Zach and Brad Beal or Zach and CJ McCollum at the 2 and the 3. And then you play Patrick Williams at the 4 and Vooch the 5. Now you're offensive and you're adding a little more defense. It might be the best of both worlds. I don't think you don't have enough money to sign Lonzo and Brad Beal. But I do think you can find TJ McConnell and Brad Beal, and Alan Bratcher just ruined my whole night. He is not very nice. Breaking news, Washington won tonight. That means the Bulls are not going to the play-in. Just took all the hype out of it of what could happen.
Yeah. You know,
but yeah, I think TJ McConnell gives you a lot of more options.
I think that would be an interesting combo if you went after the two of them to see the utilization on the court and really see what that could bring to this Bulls offense. Obviously, you know, you get a guy that's a little bit more of a defensive player, but still productive offensively. And then you've got Brad Beal thrown in the mix. That could almost be your three-headed monster right there. And then you've still got Vooch. You've still got Vooch as well as Patrick Williams to fall back on. That would be one hell of a starting 5 right there. I got to think that would be the W if they could make it happen.
And then you got Kobe as the 6th man.
No, we're getting rid of Kobe. He's going somewhere.
Whoa, why?
Kobe is great as a pure shooter, but
if he's a 6th man, he could come in and he could play multiple spots. He could be your backup point guard. He could be your backup 2 guard.
Yeah, I guess he has shown at times that he's looked the best out of a backup role. I mean, one would argue that when they put him on the bench and he came off the bench, he was playing a lot better than he did in a starting role. And that's fine. Maybe it was a reality check. Maybe it was, hey, I got to get my starting job back, so I'm going to try to be a little bit more aggressive, take a little bit better shots. But I'm just not sold on the Kobe White experiment. He's still young, though. That's one thing that even myself forgets from time to time is that he's still young. We haven't seen Kobe White's ceiling by any means. He's only going to develop as an offensive player. So we'll see what happens.
He's still learning how to be a point guard in the NBA. You know, he was a point guard at college, and that was just kind of, you know, throw shit at the wall and see what sticks. Just do whatever you want. Not as much controlled as it is the NBA, where you have to be on point and, you know, you go multiple possessions down the floor without being in a position to shoot the ball and still finding a way to impact the offense. So he's still learning, you know, but he has shown the ability to grow. You know, he had a quote the other day. They asked him about this sample that he's given us now with when Zach was out, and he said, "Look, when you're a young player in this league, you have 2 choices. When somebody tells you that you have something to work on, you can, you know, you're removed from the starting lineup. You can go sit in the corner and pout about it, or you can get in the gym and do what you got to do to get better." And he definitely is the type of kid to get in the gym and do better. So, you know, the sky's the limit.
Yeah, we'll see what happens with Kobe. That was a little brash of me to immediately say he's not going to be on the team if that's the case. But
can I switch gears here just for a second before we wrap things up?
Absolutely, go ahead, brother.
So I just saw it was about a half hour ago it was posted, but I just saw that Sherrick McManus has announced he is not returning to the Bears this season.
Really?
That's what his social media has said. He's thanked the fans for a great career in Chicago, and no matter what team he plays for next year, he will always feel like he's a Bear at heart. I love Sherrick McManus. He's a special teamer. He's played at corner when they needed somebody. He's filled in at safety. He is definitely the type of guy that I thought he was a cheap option. They got a little bit of money. I really thought he'd be back. And, you know, I don't know. What do you think about that? I guess I just assumed he would be back.
I also just kind of assumed he would be back. I didn't think there was any chance that he was moving on. And obviously we'll have to see as the details unfold what the reason for that is, whether that was, you know, a team decision, a mutual decision, or what. But, you know, he's been one of those staple guys that you can plug and play, like you said.
And he's
Great
a
special
hometown
teamer.
kid.
Yeah, great, more veteran leadership. I mean, it's something that, you know, how much would it have cost to keep him? Not much.
He couldn't have been much, man. He hasn't had a high contract his whole
No.
career. He's that rotation guy. He's not a starter, but he's
Right.
great on special teams. You know, he fills that hole where I don't know if I'm actually I do know. I stand corrected. He was definitely a captain on special teams.
Yeah.
And
For sure.
you hear all the time, and he gets down there on punt coverage and kick coverage, and
Yeah.
he's filled in at times at corner and at safety, and to your point, he wasn't going to cost a lot of money. I don't get it. I hate to criticize the Bears right now because they came off such a great draft and they signed some really good undrafted free agents who I think have a chance to make this team. But I think I would have had to find a way, and maybe they work it out. Maybe there's a way to bring him back, but it doesn't look like it, and it definitely is disappointing because he's a guy that us Bears fans have fallen in love with and gotten used to seeing out there every year.
For sure. And it's one of those things, obviously, you know, Matt Nagy and Ryan Pace, argue it as much as you want, are in the hot seat a little bit, and they're probably trying to cut corners anywhere they can. And even if that's, you know, a small contract amount for Sherrick, it's probably a move that now they see they can keep a guy like Jimmy Graham on the roster or something silly like
And
that.
The Bear fan in me is going to miss Sherrick McManus, but maybe one of these undrafted free agents or somebody they bring in, maybe they really like somebody and they think that somebody could take that spot. And obviously Sherrick's at the tail end of his career. Maybe they just feel like they already have the same thing in somebody younger and even relatively cheaper, even though he didn't cost that much. So I'll hold my judgment only because they had such a good draft and post-draft that I don't want to start judging them now. But like I said, I just assumed that they were going to work that out.
Did you see that the man, the myth, the walrus, the non-legend Charles Leno signed with the Washington football team?
I did. You know what? I shared it on Facebook, and I don't know what I read, but I thought he signed with Denver. I know they signed Bobby Massey, but I thought they signed Leno too, but they did not. You're right. He went to Washington. $5 million deal for a starting left tackle. Look, if you limit your expectations of Charles Leno and you figure he's a seventh round draft pick and he's getting $5 million, he could play decent for Washington. I mean,
maybe he'll play better in a different scheme. I don't
know that he'll play better. I'm just saying that maybe, to a new team, to a new fan base, you go, it's easier to say, well, he's a 7th round draft pick and we only signed him for $5 million. So yeah, whatever we get, he's okay. Compared to
he was
here,
here
where it's like you've been here for 7 years.
Yeah,
you're getting beat every week. So,
yeah,
but maybe,
exactly.
And we saw a lot of guys go to Denver. Maybe Sherrick follows Kyle Fuller over to Denver.
That would be interesting to see. Obviously, we know there's one reason and one reason only Kyle Fuller went to Denver, and that's Vic Fangio, and that's the style that he prefers.
Yeah, I mean, maybe he goes there. Maybe he goes to the Chargers. The Chargers got what was that, Brandon Staley?
Yeah.
The old defensive coordinator, got him out there now as the head coach. Maybe he goes plays for him, so we'll see. But he's a guy that I'll cheer on wherever he's at.
Oh, for sure, man. Wish him nothing but the best in the future of his career. Well, Vince, man, it's been a good show tonight. We got to talk about the Bulls a lot more than we have in recent weeks. It was nice. It was nice to catch up on our Bulls, only to see our hopes and dreams die the last 10 minutes of the show when our guy Allen posted that Washington won, so the Bulls are officially out of it. But, that's the way it goes.
I'm calling him from now. I'm going to call him Dream Crusher from now on.
We here at 1252 Chicago Sports live and die with our Chicago sports teams. And, at the end of the day, we're not going to be in the playoffs every season, every year. We would love it, but this Bulls team's got a lot of upside, and I'm excited to see what they do in the offseason to add that extra step to make us a playoff contender moving forward.
Man, you know what I'm going to have to do? I'm so upset about the Bulls missing the playoffs and Sherrick McManus not coming back. I'm going to have to go to Nick and Ivy and grab me some beer and then maybe call up John Darren and buy a house.
Fair enough. Yeah. Big shout out to our sponsors, Nick and Ivy and the Jonathan Darren team. Huge shout out to Salim Suterwalla. The Bulls Gold podcast is great. Follow him on Twitter at Jordan Dynasty. The man's got a bunch of Bulls takes. Great pod stuff.
I will say this. I didn't think that there was anything that would get me to consider it would be a nice break from the Bears talk we've had for so many shows and football in general for so many shows in a row. But he, like you said, he's got great takes, great insight. Always a fun to have him on. He's a great friend of the show. And it was a great show. I really enjoyed getting caught up on the Bulls and,
definitely
believing they had a outside shot at making the playoffs until the Dream Crusher crushed it. But, it is what it is.
It is what it is. We'll live to fight another day with the Bulls, man. We will. Next season is going to be a bright one. So, again, thank you to all of us for joining us on the YouTube, the Twitch, and Facebook machines. We appreciate it. Salim, we appreciate you coming on with us tonight. And thank you to our sponsors. Have a good night, everybody.
Peace out.